What's going on, everyone? It is Wednesday, October 30th. Got the whole gang minus Josh. Josh was pretty much burning the midnight oil for him. We're going to leave the lights off. Just keep them on.
Is that lights?
Yeah, we're dark. We're dark. But, we're going to have enough lights that we're going to be looking at. So, anyways, we've got – plus I don't want to reach out and touch the lights with this. But if you want to turn them on, that's fine. You can.
Yeah, that's all right.
All right. We'll leave them off. So anyways, hey, everyone, we're doing an update here on the severe weather potential. We've got severe storms that are to the west of us. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy night. Let's take you through the tornado watch that was issued not too long ago. When we look at those watches and warnings, you'll see that there is a tornado watch. That's that area shaded in yellow. And that goes until midnight. And so we've been saying for quite some time that storms are moving in after midnight. Zach, you put the forecast together. Peyton, you were looking at some stuff. What do you think are the key takeaways for this event?
Well, the models didn't show it being as warm as what it is right now. And with the warm air in place, the capacity to hold that moisture is higher. And we've been seeing dew points in the mid 60s. So that's kind of seeing some springtime dew points in the area. And with this line coming in, big system, definitely I'm more concerned now than what it was Monday for this severe storm potential later on tonight.
Yeah. And I mean, the system is pretty intense. We know how strong the winds are. We actually have storms popping north of Tulsa. You've been looking at some of the ingredients. You were doing the forecasting yesterday. What's your thoughts about the shear?
The shear, it's honestly not incredible right now. Stuff is definitely rotating a little bit, but no tornadoes yet. A couple tornado warnings, but it'll crank up here once we get into the late night hours, once that nocturnal low-level jet kicks in. That'll add a whole lot more spin in the atmosphere, and that's when it is, as you put it, game on.
Yeah, game on. It could be for sure. And I know a lot of you might be wondering, well, when are storms rolling in? What time? Are we going to see storms? The answer is yes, you will see storms. Whether they are tornado-producing storms, we'll have to see. But, hey, Wyatt Puck is storm chasing. Says some very generous lightning in Bartlesville right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at Mega Doppler. There is a lot of activity that's popping up, and you can see on Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler some thunderstorms that are starting to pop up over Bartlesville. That's where Wyatt's at, and that's that storm that's developing. So right now, that storm motion is probably not favorable for a lot of tornado potential, but we're continuing to watch that gnarly line of storms. Look at that line developing, and you can see the severe thunderstorm warnings that also are considerable. So, Greg, I don't know about that. I do have a doctor, though, that's watching me with a fine-tooth comb. I mean, he's watching me with a magnifying glass because I have to wear this brace for my golfer's elbow. I didn't even think that was a real term, but it is. So anyways, we've got, wow, look at the cloud cover rolling back in too. So check this out. This is our Waldron WeatherBug network camera. And that's quite a bit of clouds rolling in. So that shows you that moisture increase. Dew points are starting to climb, or we're getting more moisture working its way in. And now those storms are slowly making their way east. Again, that tornado watch goes until midnight tonight. Let's take a look at the future track radar. And so there's the storms off to the west. We're going to step through this slowly so you get an idea. There will be a cool down after the line comes through, but I don't think there's much of a cool down ahead of it. Now, there hasn't been a whole lot of isolated activity that's popped up ahead of the line. That's good and bad. That's good in terms of if you want storms and severe weather, and the greater the severe weather potential, those lines that develop. So the good news is, without those isolated storms that are developing, that might limit the severe weather potential for those isolated cells. Zach, if you want to scoot on in here and get everybody in. So that might limit that. But at the same time, the bad news is that without those isolated cells, we're not cooling off the atmosphere ahead of time. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, if you will. Going back to this, we're looking at this over time, and right about midnight is when those storms will start rolling in. The actual line. There is no doubt, and I can verify this, there's no doubt we're getting rain. We will not beat the well, yeah, if we don't get rain before midnight, we will beat the fourth stretch. We're tying it right now, aren't we? The driest
Yeah,
stretch.
yeah,
Fourth
and
driest.
Fourth driest stretch on record so
Mhm.
far. Baja Blast watch. Absolutely. We'll show you how it is a Baja Blast. Want to go to bed, so I'm hoping Fort Smith won't get bad. Well, you can go to bed. We'll let you know if the storms are rolling in. By about 10 o'clock, we'll have a good idea on how they're going to be. But we go back to the radar, and every single square inch of the area is going to see storms. There's no doubt about that. And these will be highly electrified. You see what's happening out in Oklahoma. Pretty intense storms. So you're going to see here, it will rain. There's just no question about it. Every single square inch of the viewing area will see rain. And so if you look at the rain totals, here's the storm rolling in. We're looking at about an inch to an inch and a half, with some areas picking up a little bit less. But again, this is just a computer model. This isn't the real deal. This isn't exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think an inch to an inch and a half is a pretty good guess on the amount of rainfall. Now, Zach, you were looking at some mesoscale analysis, which is basically from the Storm Prediction Center. So to break this down, there's a RAP model that goes every hour and it updates. And one of the things that we're looking for is QLCS tornado potential. Okay. So QLCS tornado potential, Zach, on Weather 2, you can kind of take us through that. What are we looking for as we look at this right here, Zach?
Well, those wind barbs shows the vector shear of the 0 to 1 kilometer, and when that's perpendicular to the line, and if it's over 30 knots, that's a really good indication that the potential for a spin up QLCS tornado is there. And as of right now, if we take Mega Doppler, we can say that orientation of that line is not quite perpendicular, but the winds are that shear is starting to get over 30.
Yeah.
And when the low level jet kicks in, that shear vector will turn. And
I'm gonna zoom in here a little bit on this line because I zoomed out a little far. But yeah, so there's also a chance too that the shear vector will start turning to the west, and then it would be in orientation with the line. Yeah. So that's what we're going to be watching. Also, the 0 to 3 kilometer instability is something that's also key. And right now, that shows the 0 to 3 kilometer instability, doesn't it, Zach, on here?
Mhm.
Yes. But if we go over time here, we'll check this out.
You can't go over time.
Yeah, on this one you can't. So multi-parameter fields, and I don't think you can do it on this either. Let's zoom out a little bit on this one, Zach. Okay, here we go. So I scroll up, and you can't go out in time. Nope. Let's look at supercell composite and see what this does over time. So yeah, look at that increase, dramatic increase when the low level winds will start to crank up. Because if you look at the 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative velocity, right now it's not super amazing, but look at what happens over time. That does increase dramatically ahead of the line, and that's exactly what we're going to be encountering as that low level wind shear really starts to crank up.
And when the shear is that high, it doesn't have to be exactly perpendicular.
Yeah,
There's more wiggle room.
Could be a little bit off.
So let's go to some other computer model forecasts. Show you the latest risk. We'll show you where the tornado potential is the best. And so here we go. There's a look at the severe weather risk. You'll see here 2 out of 5 for our area. Now, I got to stress this because I talked about this on our newscast. You look at this tornado potential and you see, oh, well, we're not in the hatched area, so that means we won't have strong tornadoes. Not necessarily, because if you know from experience and from past experience, how many times are we not in the greatest colors and we end up seeing some stuff?
A lot of times.
A lot of times.
We've been in no colors at all.
Yeah.
Still
have had stuff.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt some pretty nasty storms that are going to be moving in. The question is will they utilize the environment? That's what we have to see. And right now, one of the things that we were looking at yesterday are those surface winds. What exactly are those surface winds? Are they backed? Are they more out of the southeast? Well, let's look. And it does. Wow, look at Fort Smith. That is a southeasterly wind at 10. It's south-southeast in Fayetteville. So yeah, that's one of the ingredients for tornado potential. So
It all
that's
goes into that shear
Yeah.
vector, the change in the winds with height. You have more change in the direction. You have more, I guess, more spin in the atmosphere and in that line.
yeah. So going to some of these comments here, are the models going to show a cool down before the storms get here tonight? Even if they do, they still weren't warm enough today. So you look at that, and it's not even the right thing. So the models were too cool with the high temperatures, so they're going to be not as unstable as we actually are right now. That's just the way that works. Jacob says, do you think tornado watch gets issued for Northwest Arkansas? I personally do. I think that's going to happen around 11 o'clock because remember, this tornado watch to the northwest of us expires at midnight. So we've got this expiring at midnight. And then, of course, they're not just going to be like, well, after midnight, they're going to issue a new watch. No, there's going to be an overlap. So I don't see anything that will limit the tornado potential except for if it's a solid line. If it's just a straight up solid line and the shear vector doesn't line up. But with this type of environment, I still think they go tornado.
I definitely think it'll clip our eastern Oklahoma counties, but just given the nature of how they put out those watches, they'll just leave Northwest Arkansas out.
Maybe.
But I think there should be, though.
Yeah.
Later on tonight.
But regardless, we are expecting damaging straight line winds.
Yeah.
With that line.
Damaging straight line winds can still be an issue. So why don't we go over the timing of this? And if you're watching about trick or treating, you got absolutely nothing to worry about the afternoon and evening on Thursday. It will be cooler, noticeably cooler, but this is a look at the timing. So clearly we're pretty quiet right now. By 8 o'clock, there could be some isolated cells because if you notice on Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler, there's some storms that are starting to pop up. And so that's that energy that's beginning to work its way in. So there's that timing, and that's what we're looking at with 100% for the chance of rain. And that's what I was just saying yesterday. I said we're going to go 100%. Mm-hmm. It's just every single square inch of the area is going to see rainfall. Maybe not necessarily severe weather, but I think there will be a multitude of severe thunderstorm warnings. Here is a look, by the way, at the temperatures for Halloween. Now, I want to point this out to you. It will get noticeably cooler tomorrow. Highs will be in the 60s, just barely. It might be too warm behind this system. But then as we go into Halloween, we're looking at 50s for trick-or-treating. So it'll quickly drop from the 60s to the 50s. And I think mid-50s aren't out of the question. Then we drop even more as that dry air moves in and we get down into the upper 30s. So there's a look at that Halloween forecast. I know you guys are wondering about that. Let's go to the water vapor because I want to see what this system looks like. And it's just a beast of a trough. It's a very big low pressure system. Now, granted, yes, the forcing and the lift is a little greater to the northwest.
Man. Wow.
Look at that thing swing out.
That is look how fast that thing is.
Yeah.
Another round 2 up there.
Yeah.
For next week.
Behind that, we've got our weather system for the weekend. That's what's developing right there in the Pacific Northwest. So we'll get to that here. And but yeah, that is an impressive water vapor. You can see the energy moving in. There's definitely a lot of lift. We'll go to the high resolution water vapor and look at how the trough is kind of ejecting. Now, at the same time, it's ejecting, but it's a little bit farther north for the real focus of the lift. So there is one question about storm development, isolated cells ahead of the line, and I think that's why there's just not as much forcing. So it's questionable if they actually do develop. But again, you look here, and those are trying to develop into isolated cells.
A little bit of hail. I think it's worth look at that line. It's kind of like multiple line breaks.
Someone asked about hail, and we'll see here. Someone said, are you going to have to break out the tornado tie? Well, at this point, we've got the lightning tie on. And just to give you an idea of what it looks like. And it's the big lightning tie because the lightning is going to be pretty tremendous tonight. It's going to be a strobe effect for lightning. And that makes sense because as I was mentioning with Peyton yesterday, you got colder cloud tops, you got cooler weather because there's snow out in the Rockies. So when you get those ice and water collisions, especially this time of the year, you can get
Yeah.
some really highly
I didn't
electrified
even
storms.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because you're gonna have
Yeah.
more ice.
Yeah.
You're gonna have more ice
That's
content
a good thought.
in the clouds.
There's going to be so much space. While it may not have super high cloud tops, with all this moisture, the bases will be super low.
Yeah,
It'll still have, a large distance between, kind of the water, the bottom of the clouds, and the ice at the top. So this will be pretty highly electric storm.
and like you said, a lot of positive strikes too. So because of that separation. I do want to show you this. Someone was asking about the timing. Let's look at the latest, and we're getting ready for a newscast, so that's why we're kind of zipping through this. But I haven't seen this either. This is the 1 hour update on the graph 3 kilometers. So this is a higher resolution model, 3 kilometer. The lower the number, that means the less the grid spacing. And so there's that timing. I think everything is pointing to after midnight.
Yeah,
So I think that's a pretty good idea on after midnight.
It's not showing that
timing.
isolated development out in front. That's
It's
going on
not.
in Tulsa right now. So it's not even.
But you
performing
will
like that.
notice, look at how the line orientation is more north to south. And that's that QLCS tornado potential. So right along the line, there could be some of those spin ups. And we'll talk more about that later tonight. But there's the line pushing through. And yeah, by 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, the storms will end and the rain will be pushing out. So that's that model. And I think that does a pretty good job. We look at the latest HRRR. This updates every hour too. Doesn't really have that isolated development. There's one little isolated cell. Now that kind of goes nuts right there between about 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning. So notice how it hits northwest Arkansas before it hits the river valley. So if you're watching Carroll County, just about 1 to 2 a.m. When will it start in Fayetteville? As you saw, I think around 1:30. So 1 to 1:30.
That line orientation on the HRRR is a lot different than the graph.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Interesting to see.
What we mean by is it running straight north to south? Is it running more northeast to southwest? So Fort Smith does not have a tornado watch right now. Hail potential will be there, but I don't think it's going to be as great of a threat as a damaging wind potential. So we'll go to this real quick. You guys want to turn on the lights, you can. I just know it kind of washes us out and doesn't look as crisp. So here's the individual threats, just to show you that we do have that potential for hail, but it's not going to be as much in a line. You don't get big hail in a line of storms typically. It very rarely gets over hen egg size. But there's a look at up to $50, not out of the question. Damaging wind potential. You can see that little red sliver right there over northwestern Delaware County. Go back to that now. That little sliver right in there. That is that enhanced risk. And then the tornado potential, yeah, it covers a good portion of our area. So the entire area is at least under a non-zero tornado threat. All right. We're going to have to end this here pretty soon, but doing your rain dance. There's no doubt we're getting rain. So Tiffany has a question. Will the lightning cause fire? The lightning, there's a thing called dry lightning, yes, but this is not going to be dry lightning. It might be initially, but the rain is coming in. So even if there is lightning that's not raining at the time, it will rain behind it. And most of the lightning will be as it's just downpour.
Yeah, and the humidity is pretty high right now.
Yeah.
So
0 3 kilometer Cape could be juicy. Anything over 100 could be bad news. Go to the 0 to 3 kilometer
it's like
Cape.
150.
Yeah. And there's a way to look at that over time. Low level jet has been cranking all day, says Josh. Yeah, what a cluster of garbage, right? Just the low level jet wasn't there. We could have tornado warnings. Is this a get out of mobile home event? Yeah, I would be watching the radar closely, and if you are under a warning, I would say yes, you definitely have to get out of the mobile home. So this is a good question. Mike says, What's your opinion on the tri-state tornado? I do believe it was a series of tornadoes. I don't think it was just one, but I think there were several. I think there was long track. I mean, but it's tough to say if it really was one tornado. Yeah, I'm not describing it brief and weak. I'm not describing it. I just said spin up, or I could say a mesovortex tornado. So how primed is the atmosphere? It's pretty primed right now. I mean, you step out the door later on tonight, it gets increasingly more humid. So one more comment here. Think it'll be worse in Fayetteville or Bentonville? That's a good question. That's one I can't answer at this point because I've learned my lesson to say one place will be worse and then the other place will be better, and it ends up being the other way. Regardless, the entire area has a severe weather threat. I think there are quite a few low-level clouds. Visibility may be junk. That's true. There are quite a few low-level clouds, and those clouds have really cranked up too, but not over Fayetteville. Look, it's pretty quiet there. Fulbright Junior High, there are some clouds, but look at the river valley. Man, did it get cloudy quick.
It's paying off. Is he at the top?
Yeah, so we're going to have to shut this down here. All right, guys. You're on weather too, right, Peyton?
Yep, don't worry about it. You can keep the string going, I guess.
What?
You can keep the string going, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I will. Yeah, we'll keep it going, but I'm going to load up. Are you on weather too, and is it loaded up? Okay. Perfect. Yeah, we'll give you we'll keep the stream going, and we'll give you Peyton's first forecast here.
Yeah.
That'll be perfect. Then we'll have to shut it down. So
Yeah, you gotta run together.
last night my brother asked about Flint Ridge. You said it's in the bullseye. So real quick, just looking at the SIG tour. Here's a look at the SIG tour. And yeah, that is. Yeah. That ramps up pretty impressive. So you're going to be watching that, Diana. Now, I think this is a little too fast, but you can see how that entire area is under threat. All right, guys, stand by for Peyton's start to KXNW News at 7.
Proudly covering the Northwest Arkansas community, this is KNWA News at 7 on KXNW.
We're finally getting some rain, and that's good news, but the rain is coming with the potential for severe storms. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us now at 7. I'm Sonia Hill. Well, Peyton joins us now with the latest on the timing of these potentially dangerous storms. So, Peyton, things are calm right now, but things might be changing here in the next few hours.
Oh, definitely, Sonia. Things are already popping off just northwest of Tulsa. As that line is approaching, you still see pretty abundant clouds as the sun goes down right now outside our PG Telco Weather Bug Network camera. Temperatures right now still pretty insanely warm. We're talking just a tick below 80 in Fort Smith, 79 degrees. Middle 70s in northwest Arkansas as well, 74 in Rogers and 76 in Fayetteville. And there you see a tornado watch just off to our west. There you can see some development firing up just north of Tulsa near Bartlesville. But that main line is still a little bit further west, but it'll be here before you'll know it. So there you see the tornado watch. That goes until midnight. They probably will add one across our eastern Oklahoma counties and maybe into northwest Arkansas later on tonight, just after midnight. So the severe weather risk, looking at the latest right now, most of our area in that slight risk. Few tornadoes possible, especially because this is a QLCS type system. I'll explain what that is in the full weather forecast. Large hail not out of the question either, but the main threat I would say is definitely going to be high winds, up to 70-mile-per-hour winds as well. And we could see a lot of runoff because the ground is so dry. So some low-lying areas could, collect a lot of this runoff. You could see very local flooding as well. So there you see the threat for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds. And Sonia, coming up in the full forecast in just a little bit, we'll go into details on what the future track could look like and the latest timing for all this. That's coming up in just a bit.
And on that note, if you've not updated or downloaded our Weather Authority app, now is a great time to do that. Just scan this QR code you see on your screen. You can also download it on Google Play and the Apple App Store for free. Well, tonight, heavy hearts across the Greenwood community in the River Valley. We are just a few minutes away from a special vigil honoring the 3 victims of an overnight house fire. One of those killed was standout Greenwood High School wide receiver, 18-year-old Isaiah Arrington. His jersey number 0, as you see on your screen. Also killed were his 5-year-old sister and their mother. As investigators work to learn how the fire started, a community is left trying to deal with a wave of emotions. One of those community members is Kane Archer, playing alongside Isaiah on the Greenwood High School football team. Archer says he has known Isaiah since they were just 8 years old. He says he was a positive person, a joy to be around. Archer told us today he's in disbelief hearing about the loss of his friend.
I don't have any words. I mean, I'm so sad it happened to them. My thoughts and my prayers go out to them, and I know that they're all in a better place right now, and Isaiah's watching over at us, and we just decided we're going to play against Southside this Friday because if Isaiah was in our shoes, he'd want us to play.
Again, the school will be holding a community vigil tonight at 8 to pay their respects to Vivian, Wendy, and Isaiah. Authorities tell us the cause of the fire is under investigation. We are also learning more tonight about a deadly plane crash in North Arkansas. The victim has now been identified as 68-year-old Robert Phil Mathis of Mississippi. We were told a plane went down yesterday around 2 in the afternoon, and it took hours for crews to find the wreckage. Van Buren County Judge Dale James says the FAA called the Van Buren County 911 to alert them of a plane in distress due to engine failure. He says Mathis was flying from Fayetteville to his hometown of Corinth, Mississippi, when his plane went down near the Van Buren and Stone County line. Judge James adds he spoke with the family and relayed a message for those who assisted at the scene.
They have a lot of hope. They were Christians, and they expressed that Christian hope very, very loudly and vividly.
Judge James says it took crews hours to get to the wreckage because of what he called extremely rough terrain with large cliffs that required rappelling gear. The Arkansas National Guard and local residents who searched the area by plane, on foot, and with drones, they stepped in to help. The FAA and NTSB are now investigating the crash. A new report from the Commerce Department says the U.S. economy grew at nearly 3% pace last quarter. Gross domestic product, or GDP, which measures the goods and services produced, grew 2.8% from the start of July to the end of September. That figure is adjusted for inflation.
We're still in the middle of our newscast, but we just want to give you an idea of what's going on. So we're in the studio. Watch out. Ross is going to show something. So Sonia's on the desk, and we're just like right next to her, so we can't talk super loud. So anyways, we're just going to be watching this. We'll keep you updated. Peyton's got his full forecast coming up in just a bit, and we're going to drop off of the stream. But once the storms start coming in and getting a little worse, we'll let you know about that. So, we're going to be watching this closely and keeping you updated. This is a long A block, so they'll be doing a lot of talking for a while. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Prayers for the families in Greenwood and those that were involved. It's just, gosh, it's so devastating to see. But we'll take care. Have a good one and be safe, and God bless. I'll see you later as the storms start rolling in.